Daniel and Helen are stuck in a Waymo doing 70 and a 65. Camille thinks she's driving the silo. Billings thinks he's driving a murder investigation and gets no respect as sheriff. And Bernard, get it? Burn. He's up feeding himself, but somebody still needs to get this dude a senzu bean ASAP. Welcome to Real Enigmas and Theories. Tap that like and hype on your way in, and let's get right into the cook-up. So we start this episode with Robert and Camille meeting across the gap in the stairs. I mean, they closing the gap on the stairs, but the gap in their relationship is getting wider every episode. I mean, they've been repairing this gap for like 3 months now, and the construction dudes is starting to look like the doozers from Fraggle Rock. I mean, I can't blame them because they do have to stop and let people up and down, but I think they should take this opportunity to make a damn elevator up in here. Now, by the look on Camille's face, she knows Robert is up to something. Robert was supposed to find Juliet and kill her, but we know that he's been working with Bernard and the new Flame Keepers. He tells Camille that Juliet's friends helped her escape. Then he turns the question back on her and said, "You already knew I was down there." And Camille tells him that people notice where he goes. And you can see it in her eyes that Camille is not trusting a word that Robert even says anymore. He tells her that they might not have to drug the water, but Camille lets him know if they can't find Juliet, it's definitely going to come to that. And that conversation shows us that Robert is still hoping that he could stop the full reset without exposing himself. But Camille has already accepted this as an option, and she tells him that she doesn't need his help finding Juliet and sends him back home to deal with Anthony. She's checking every move that her own husband is making, and she sends somebody to tail him. But they both believe that they're protecting their son. Robert wants Anthony to remember being his son, and Camille is willing to erase the boy's memory and preserve the body that's carrying him. So Camille goes down to janitorial and checks the surveillance with her head raider, and they spot Juliet entering Martha's workshop. But Knox and Shirley were already able to bring Bernard into Martha's place without appearing on those cameras. Then Teddy sees Camille and the raiders are coming, and he takes another route to reach Martha's place before them. So that means that the Down Deep has its own travel system as well. And janitorial has like the public stairs where everybody can be watched on the cameras, but they're hidden passages used by the people who know the body of the silo better than the people that's actually controlling it. So like I said, Knox and Shirley have brought Bernard to Martha's place, and Kyle and Kennedy are looking at him with the same expression that we had when we found him in a void with Juliet. Yeah, episode 4 was a crazy plot twist when they showed us that Bernard lives. Then Juliet comes in. She was just on the steps with Sims, and she comes in and tells everybody that she remembers everything. Solo Jimmy, Silo 17, the blueprints, the kids over there. But the exact location where the safeguard pipe enters is still foggy in her brain. So Bernard explains that Lucas Kyle was able to rebuild the hard drive that Bernard had smashed, and Kyle saw the pipelines entering into the silo toward IT. And there was another one that goes towards judicial. And Lucas says that there are tunnels running vertically around the silo, and that's why he entered the mines. He said he almost reached the pipeline connected to IT. And Bernard explains that the IT pipeline provides backup power so that just in case of an outage or the generators fail, IT can keep getting power to that part of the silo. Now, I got to keep it a beanbag. This design of the silo really says a lot about these so-called founders' intentions for the silos. The generator can stop, but the information system must remain alive. IT has its own protected bloodstream of power. So if the rest of the silo goes dark, the machine can still keep controlling and monitoring what's going on. And that means that the other line running to judicial has to be the safeguard pipe. I mean, think about the placement for a second. The backup power is going to IT where the silo's information is controlled, and the poison goes to judicial where the law and enforcement are controlled. That is crazy. I mean, I really wonder why these people set the silo up like this. What was the end game? And is it just an experiment or is it important to them? I mean, if you're going to kill an entire silo, there has to be some level of importance to it. And they have been referring to this as some sort of like disease or contaminant. So yeah, I'm really wondering what is the rhyme and reason behind designing the silo like this. I mean, you got a jail cell right in front of the doors when you first come into the silo. So that means that the cleaning thing and having somebody in the holding cell before they go out to clean was something that was embedded into the actual design of the silo. Why? For what? So while they were putting all of that together, like I said, Teddy, he spotted Camille and the Raiders moving towards Martha's place, and he gets there first through one of the hidden routes, and he warns everybody, and Juliet pretty much goes outside and waits on Camille. Now, she knows that Camille is there to arrest her, but she also knows Camille can't just easily drag her away from the down deep because Juliet is the only person to leave the silo and return, and the people love her because she came back through the fire and became the mayor. So if Camille grabs her publicly, Juliet knows that she can make the whole silo turn up on Camille like she did with that guard that time they were in the alleyway. So she asked Camille to step into a place away from the camera so that they could have a private heart-to-heart. And she tells Camille that she remembers everything. And Camille doesn't even care about that. She even denies the existence of the vault voice. But Juliet lets her know that that game is over too. She knows that there's something in the vault making decisions and giving her orders. The funny part is that they move away from the cameras, but right when Juliet asks to speak to the voice, Camille receives an alert from the vault telling her to come back. It summoned her with the little device that she has. Now, to me, that could mean one of three things. Either the vault voice can hear or sense everything that's happening, even outside of the surveillance system, or the alert device was bugged, or the timing is just one hell of a coincidence. You let me know what you think in the comments. But what I'm seeing is that Juliet wanted to speak to the voice, and the voice called Camille, and Camille takes her to the vault to speak. So I don't know. So Juliet asked the vault voice for permission to return to Silo 17 and bring the survivors back. And the voice says that the numbers predict a disaster for the people in the silo if another silo enters Silo 18. And it describes them like an invasive species. I thought that was crazy. That's a heavy choice of words because the vault voice is not viewing them as children trapped in a dead silo. It sees them like a contaminant being brought and introduced into another controlled environment. And that puts us right back inside the orchard and human seed vault theory. It's not like the voice is rejecting the survivors because it hates them. It moves like that because they were not a part of Silo 18's design. So they have like unsanctioned genetic material pretty much. You know, you have the cultural stuff. You know, Silo 17 had a total different set of original people that brought in different relics and memories that are a part of a larger human story of before the silo started. They're pretty much seeds from another silo. Then Juliet does a power move and asks whether the voice would approve the plan if she agrees to go back on the forgetting drug and allows the children to be drugged from Silo 17 as well. And the voice appears to agree, and this is where Juliet and Camille actually begin to mirror. Because Camille is willing to drug Anthony and the entire silo so the bodies can survive, and Juliet is willing to offer her memories and also get back on the memory drugs and drug the children in Silo 17 so their bodies can be brought into Silo 18. Now, I do not believe that Juliet intends to go through with all of that, but she's making a deal so that she can get the people outside and locate the safeguard pipe in Silo 17. But listen to what she's willing to put on the table: the children's memories. And Juliet hates what happened to her, but she's willing to appeal to the machine because she needs approval for that mission. Juliet returns to Martha's workshop and explains the surface mission. Two people will go outside and bring back the survivors from 17, but the covert mission is to locate the safeguard pipe. Bernard says that the people going outside need to be engineers, and that points directly to Knox and Shirley. So Juliet asks them to go, but the conversation changes when Juliet leaves and we learn that Shirley is pregnant. Now, we have seen Shirley touching that scar on her hip, and now it appears that her birth control was actually removed. I mean, they both struggle with the danger for a minute, but then decide that they both want to go out and see the distance. Shirley later asks Knox why he became angry when Billings mentioned his father, and Knox explains that his father was supposed to be a brilliant engineer, but couldn't stay out of trouble long enough to take care of his family. He's not seen him in years. And Shirley tells Knox that he should go help Billings, and Knox agrees. So he goes down to the mines looking for his father, but Harwood, Glenda Harwood's father, tells him that his father died 2 years ago. Now, back at Martha's place, Bernard tells her about the relic that he kept, and most of it was destroyed in the fire, but he explains that these objects were called good luck charms. And that tracks with my supernatural language observation from my last video. You can go check that out. I'll leave a link to it at the end of this video. But Juliet says Jesus, Robert says magic. Now Bernard explains good luck like it's an old world concept that needs to be defined. It doesn't seem like Silo 18 preserved a fully developed religious or supernatural vocabulary from the show, but fragments did survive like Jesus, magic, luck, but they moved through the silo like relics. I mean, some people probably know them and some people use them without understanding what the original system around them was, but for it have to be explained like how we see Bernard doing with Martha means that it's something that they don't actually know about. But there's a little cool moment between Bernard and Martha, and she tells him that the reason why she kept him alive is because he convinced Robert not to kill Juliet. And this is Martha letting know that Bernard we're cool and everything, but it's not that I suddenly like you. You just became useful to Juliet, and that's why we rocking with you. And yo, while Martha is talking, I'm gonna need her to use some of that vitamin D water to wash them damn fingernails. I know she works on machines and all that, but Martha does not need to be making anybody's food with her fingernails looking like that. That looks like doo-doo. We call them doo-doo pickers. She got machine grease, copper dust, and ass crumbs packed up under her fingernails. Stop playing with me, Martha. That's how you get that cyclospora shit. Ain't no way that Bernard's nails is cleaner than yours and they done burnt half the man's beard off his face in that fire. They gave my boy the Kevin Durant patch on the side of his face, and he's still looking more sanitary than the person preparing the food. We can't have this, Martha. Go wash them hands. I don't care if it's vitamin D in the water. Your fingertips need to forget about all of that dirt. Anyway, while the new Flamekeepers are working on that safeguard situation, Hank meets up with Billings to continue investigating the Orla Kent situation. And Billings reveals the twist about the missing light bulbs, and Hank immediately puts together what we were all thinking last episode. Solve who stole the light bulbs, and you solve Orla Kent's murder. And Billings tells him to keep quiet about the situation because we definitely don't want to cause another rebellion. He knows that the pack says that truth matters, but he also knows releasing the truth could go wrong and destroy the silo. Drop down in the comments. Let me know who you think has the most pressure on them right now, Billings or Camille. I mean, if Camille put that shit in the water and Billings fuck around and forget that the light bulbs is missing, 2 years down the road, it's going to get dark quick. So Billings and Hank, they go down to metal fabrication to visit Mark. And Mark is not interested in helping because his friend Lee Torgensen was thrown over the rails by raiders during the rebellion, and nobody has been held accountable for it. And Billings reminds Mark that Lee was thrown over after using a weapon that Mark made. But Mark is quick with the clap back. He's like, yo, why don't you go investigate your wife? Why don't you go and arrest your wife? You know she down with them outsiders. This whole investigation keeps exposing how little authority Billings has actually. I mean, he has the sheriff's badge, but nobody in the down deep respects the position enough to automatically cooperate with him. I mean, his wife is not even cooperating with him. You got Mark challenging him and then Knox shutting him down. So the badge looks official, but the authority behind it and the value is pretty much gone. He might as well have one of them fake badges that Regina had. Robert had counterfeit badges to get some relics, and now dude got the actual sheriff's badge and he can't get no respect out of it. Paul Billings is like Rodney Dangerfield out here. So Billings had to get on his Juliet shit and make a dangerous deal. He told Mark that he'll offer him the names of the raiders who threw Lee over the rail in exchange for his help. And Billings can't reveal the missing light bulb crisis to Mark, so he had to trade something different, but it had to be valuable as far as truth is concerned. So Mark reveals that he did make some weapons for Knox, and Knox's father used to steal diamond drill bits and sell them on the black market as jewelry. And, that gives him an extra trail. So critical supplies were being transformed into luxury objects out here. Tools needed for survival of the silo became decorations for people. So now we know Knox's father was a real asshole. I mean, what are you doing, bro? You're taking the diamond drill bits? Like, we're going to need those shits. You're selling them as necklaces and rings. What are you doing, bro? And he was doing this shit, not even worried about his wife and kid at home. Like, poor Knox, yo. It's crazy that even in a silo, like, dudes can have kids and just leave them and not see them for years. Like, even in an enclosed silo underground, I mean, shit's crazy. So after they leave him, they got the trail. He knows that he made weapons for Knox. So Billings approaches Knox, but Knox isn't trying to discuss his father either. I mean, nobody's respecting, bro. This murder case is just crashing directly into Knox's personal history. At the same time, he's being asked to go outside and risk his future with his child and his wife or his lady, And I'm not going to lie, Billings almost got his ass whooped. Like, Knox looked like the father conversation triggered him to the point to where he was like, fuck that badge, I will rip through you, bro. And it's crazy that no one even wants to respect Billings, and he can't even tell them why he's actually doing the investigation. I'm sure, like, he would, if he told them, they would want to help, but they're also going to tell other people. They're going to cause a bunch of unrest. So he's got to keep that shit to himself. So he goes back and goes over to Camille's head of the Raiders, and he persuades her to take him to the surveillance closet in janitorial. And as soon as he gets in there, he points out that this room is not mentioned in the pack, therefore it's illegal, and all of you motherfuckers gotta go. He pulled the pistol out and everything, and they got up out of there. And so he asked the head Raider lady, I can never remember her name, but he asked her to track Orla Kent and Glenda Harwood. So Glenda appears in two places within a 10-minute window, and the distance makes that impossible using the public stairs. So that pretty much confirms to us, the viewers, that she was using secret passages. Now, Glenda may be using those passages to move like stolen materials. Who knows? I don't know how she would get like those big light bulbs through those hidden passages. They're too small. But, she's definitely moving around the silo suspiciously, and they're on her. Then we go back to the Sims residence where Anthony has stolen 12 credits from his teacher. Now, there's that number 12 again. I talked about that in that last video and the video before that, my in-between videos. You got to go check them out. The 12 figures in that symbol with the 12-pointed star, that's 12 times 12, which is 144 levels. Now Anthony steals 12 credits. I thought that was like right there on the symbolism trail. So Camille comes in and she finds out what her son did, and she scolds him and everything, and she's pissed off. But I'm sitting there like, hey, y'all gonna erase this kid's memory anyway. Like, what the hell are you even really worried about? Like, what is Camille worried about when she's actively making moves to erase this kid's memory, and you're talking about go to your room? Like, what the hell? I mean, you could look at Sims. He was sitting there like, man, I'm not even going to yell at him or scold him or anything. I'm going to just tell him what he did was wrong because I know my wife is about to try to erase his memories anyway. So I don't want this to be a bad memory. I'm just going to look at him, tell him he was wrong, and sit here at the table while he eats his snack. So when Anthony goes to his room, Camille questions Robert without revealing exactly what she knows. And Robert lets her know that he knows that she put that tail on him. He like, yo, don't you think I could spot a tail? But both of them are hiding information. Both of them believe that the other could become a threat. And Robert's pistol scene from episode 5 makes even more sense now. Before Robert even knew that Bernard and Juliet were alive, he was already sitting there with the firearm because he understood that the voice might give his wife the order to eliminate him. Now Camille says she might have to do something about Robert and what he has going on, and that makes that threat like cleared. It's just the same threat that he was anticipating. So Camille returns to the vault and calls for the voice, but the voice does not answer immediately, and that stood out to me. That whole pause before it answered definitely stood out to me. Every time Camille calls, we expect the voice to be sitting there like Siri, but this time it took a moment and it kind of felt like it was unavailable. I want y'all to keep an eye on that because that pause definitely stood out and it's something that we should pay attention to. But Camille tells the voice that letting Juliet send 2 people outside to Silo 17 is a mistake, and she believes that Juliet has another plan. Then Camille starts venting about the pressures of Robert's betrayal, Juliet's return, being the head of IT, and the possibility that the reset is gonna, fix everything. She's definitely going through it. But like I said, you let me know who has more pressure, Billings or her. Now, this is the other thing that stood out to me, too. The voice actually took time to calm her down, and it reminded her that she was chosen because she's capable. And that was just more like chosen people vibes. But the voice was validating her, and then she thanks it. It gives her a purpose and then tells her that she was chosen to carry it out. It's almost like it was giving her some kind of therapy. And I mean, Camille does seems like she's power tripping a little bit because she goes to Juliet and says that Knox and Shirley cannot be sent out because they're too valuable. But Juliet suggests Kyle and Kennedy go instead, but she refuses to reveal where they are because she knows that Camille wants them dead. So they return to the vault and the voice approves sending Kyle and Kennedy outside. But after Juliet leaves, the voice tells Camille that they will never make it to Silo 17, and it knows that Juliet does have another play. Then it gives the real order to send them out at dawn and put the forgetting drug in the water to erase Juliet's from the Silo's memory, not to erase Juliet's memory, but to erase Juliet from everybody else's memory. So then it would make her less important. And Camille tells the voice that she already put the vitamin D in there 2 hours ago. Like, what? So this brings us to the before times section of the video. And this was crazy because Daniel and Helen were moving like 70 miles per hour toward an unknown destination. So Daniel's sitting behind the wheel, but the van's driving itself. And Helen throws the key fob out the window, hoping that it'll break the connection, but nothing happens. Then she says something else that we were all thinking at the end of episode 5, and that is that this is the same thing that happened to Charlotte's squadron. Yo, shout out to Natty Gustavo from the comment sections for identifying the vehicle coming from the Iranian manufacturer IKCO. I don't know what it's called, ICO, or is it IKCO? I'm not sure, but I checked it out myself, and he is 100% correct. But now the real question is, why is an Iranian manufactured vehicle sitting in the United States being rented through some guy under a light post and then remotely controlled by the people that Daniel and Helen are actively investigating? That public story says that the United States and Iran are enemies, but Charlotte's squadron was headed to bomb an underground Iranian facility, but the vehicle carrying Daniel and Helen may be connected to both of those sides. I mean, What's going on here? That keeps pushing me toward the theory that the Iran conflict is just a display and the government's acting like they're enemies while the people on both sides are cooperating on a larger project. I'm wondering if there are other silo projects all over the world. But the conflict gives them that justification to control and sell fear to the people so that they can, give up the emergency authority to the government. Now, the Georgia Guidestones called for humanity to remain under 500 million people. The world population is over 8 billion in this time period. So getting more than 8 billion to 500 million will require eliminating more people on Earth than Thanos did with that snap. I mean, Thanos was snapping like half of the people away, but this thing right here is taking more than 3/4 away. Now, that's just me kind of building onto my Georgia Guidestones theory that maybe the founders or the so-called founders were taking the instructions from the Georgia Guidestones. And, we do know that this silo has shown us the, Adventures in Georgia book, and we see the peaches everywhere. I'm wondering if that is what they were doing. I did an entire video about the Georgia Guidestones. You can check that joint out right here. I mean, Helen thinks that Per Stinson was aboard the Nimitz because he feared the aircraft would be compromised. She said that he had been raising alarms about hackers using AI, and that interpretation makes Stinson sound like he's the person warning everybody about the danger, but I think that Helen might have got it backwards. I don't think that he was on the Nimitz because he feared Charlotte would be taken. I think he was there to make sure she was taken. The hackers become the perfect enemy. You can blame the unknown hackers using AI, blame Iran, blame the Black Swarm, blame the compromised flight systems. Meanwhile, Stinson sets the whole thing up and controls the clinic where Charlotte's memories are being rebuilt after that operation. So this dude that's kind of like orbiting around the whole situation with her squad and destroying the planes and everything is literally funding the system that's rebuilding her mind. It kind of makes you think about what was done to Juliet in the silo. So Daniel decides to fiddle around under the steering wheel and try to manually break the connection. So he asks Helen for something flat so he could pry open the panel under the steering wheel. And Helen empties her purse and the Pez dispenser falls out. And Daniel sees it and he realizes that she kept it, from something with their time together. You dig? So the Pez is doing the same job in both timelines. So she gives him like a fingernail file or something to open the panel with. And he reaches inside, but he can't see what he's touching. And a coiled spring cuts him deeply between his thumb and his index finger. And then Helen pulls out supplies to, stop the bleeding. I mean, she's got everything in that purse. In episode 4, she opened her purse up like it was a snack drawer when he was about to eat those pickles and just pulled out some chips. The Pez was in there, and now she got a whole first aid kit in there, even after she dumped that shit out. I mean, whatever she needs and the scene needs to keep moving forward, she's got it tucked away in her purse. Yo, so this car starts approaching them from behind, and then Helen tries to signal for help. And the people inside the car was looking at her like she was crazy, and then they sped off like 50 Cent.
Stop! Hey! What the fuck?
What happened?
Yo, that scene had me cracking up. I'm not even gonna lie. But then Helen said, yo, let's go sit in the back and somebody will notice the van driving without a visible driver and somebody will call the police. And Daniel doubts that that'll work. And she responds to him, "O ye of little faith." And that's another Jesus reference. The phrase literally comes from Jesus in Matthew 8 when he talks to disciples about them being afraid during a storm and they believe they're in danger before Jesus calms the wind and the sea. So that's where that phrase comes from. And, we already talked about the Jesus phrase and everything in that last video. I told you it's going to be linked at the end of this video. You got to go check it out. But Daniel says that somebody at work might eventually notice he's gone, but that'll take several days. And he also tells Helen that he visited Charlotte and that she didn't remember who he was. And Dr. Serchovich told him to stay away for a while she does focus therapy. So pretty much nobody's going to miss that he's gone and try to, reach out to anybody for him on his behalf. And the same with Helen, too. I mean, she just got fired, so nobody's going to be expecting her to be at work. Nobody's going to really care. And she, tells him that she's a terrible friend and she takes weeks to call her friends back and stuff like that. Kind of gives you a little insight on, how her life is and what her life is like. But the thing about Daniel bringing up his sister not remembering who he was, he acts like he was hurt about it, but we know he was previously willing to let Serchovich erase Charlotte's memories and even asked whether false memories could be implanted. And I think that speaks a lot for Daniel's character. But then they start talking and Helen finally explains the whole journalistic fraud story. She talks about a source named Jillian came to her with information about drug use and drug addiction among congressional staffers. And Helen changed all the identifying details to protect her source. But a detail involving a woman named Sharon allowed people to figure out who Jillian was. So the rumors started spreading that the drug usage may reach all the way to the speakers and whatnot. So the authorities started pressuring Helen to identify what the source was. But to protect her source, she pretty much threw her career away by saying she invented the entire story. And that's how she became known as a journalistic fraud. But Helen didn't fabricate the truth to deceive the public. She claims that the truth was fabricated to protect the person that gave it to her. I think that's crazy. Just now to know like what happened to her and what that situation was, it's a serious situation. And I think she did the right thing though. She just sacrificed her own skin for it. And the source being named Jillian gives us a little X-Files meta connection like I talked about before. You know what I'm saying? Jillian Anderson played Dana Scully. And we already have the X-File username on Steven's chess game. But then you have an investigative journalist protecting a source named Jillian while uncovering drugs, congressional corruption, surveillance at a government level operation. And that's pretty much X-Files food right there, you dig? The combination of Helen being a journalist and the remote control vehicle also made me think about the conspiracy theory about Michael Hastings from 2013. Now, Hastings was a journalist whose reporting challenged powerful military and intelligence figure. And he died in a high-speed single-car crash in Los Angeles in 2013 after sending colleagues an email saying that he was working with a major story that associates were being questioned by the FBI. And that led theorists to think that his vehicle had been remote controlled. Now, I saw this in episode 5 at the end. We only got like a small piece, a little scene, one scene at the end of episode 5 of the Before Times. And I thought about this, but after watching this video and hearing what she said about the congressional drug use and stuff like that, she was working on a big story and now she's in a remote control vehicle. It just kind of brought me those Hastings vibes. And that whole situation happened the same year that the books were written too. So there's that. A journalist starts getting too close to powerful people and then the vehicle stops obeying the driver. Then Daniel finally calls out the Pez and Helen claims that she forgot it was in her purse, but her whole reaction says she never intended for him to see it. And Daniel asks her, was it supposed to help her remember the worst blind date she'd ever had? I mean, case closed. They like each other. Let's stop playing. I mean, what are we talking about here? The Pez is restoring Juliet's memories 300 years later, but in the Before Times, Daniel already designed it as a memory object for Helen. He gave her a ridiculous little relic and attached it to a moment between him and her, and he even calls it a memento. So that's the beginning of the relic system right there before our eyes, before the silos even existed. I think it's kind of sweet. So then the authorities appear, and for a second, they thought they was about to get rescued, but the police weren't trying to save them. The mystery man was inside of one of those vehicles, and the police were escorting them. Then the van gets to an airplane hangar, and then Senator Thurman walks out and asks Daniel and Helen how would they like to help save the world. And nobody's just going to walk up to you and say, how would you like to help us control humanity? Or how would you like to help us erase memories and control reproduction and kill entire silos? I mean, they're going to present it as if they're doing something righteous, like saving the world, because that's how people that build systems like that, they think of themselves in that way. That's why the voice believes that killing one of the silos could protect the larger project. So drop down in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what you thought about this episode. And do you think the voice's delayed response means that it's not always present inside the vault? And do you think that whoever is stealing the critical supplies is using them to go to another silo or build their own gardening system? I've seen a lot of that in my comment section, so I wanted to bring that to the conversation. And do you think Stinson was aboard the Nimitz to prevent Charlotte's abduction or to make sure that it happened? I mean, when Senator Thurman asked Daniel if they want to help save the world, do you think they're about to become a part of the silo unwillingly? Or do you think the van ride was already showing them that the decision has been made for them? Let me know what you peeped in the comments. And if you like this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff. Send this to somebody that watches the show. And if you're not subscribed yet, hopefully this will be the video to make you do it. And like I said, go check out this video that's on the screen right here and drop a comment over there and let me know that you came after watching this video right here. That's all for the video this evening. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.